Hi, welcome to Volunteer Science. My name is Jason Radford, and I'm the CEO. Today, I just want to give you a very quick tour of the platform to show you the things that you can do for creating your experiment, putting it online, and recruiting and building your own panel of volunteers and participants. So let's get started. First, we're just going to assume that you have your own research account. When you are signed in as a researcher, you'll see the My Lab option here in the nav bar. If you go to My Research, it'll take you to your team. If you have one team, it'll show you this team page. If you have multiple teams, you'll see the multiple teams that you're a part of. In this team page is where you can see the experiment that you've run, see who's working with you, create a new experiment, invite new team members, just email address. If you want a new team, you can request a new team. And then you can manage consumables, which is a way of managing large sets of data that you can use for your experiments. So here we see the list of experiments that I've created in my test team. There's a bunch. Just go, if I want to create a new experiment, I can give it a name, network chat. I can use the blank template to just start it with nothing and build it from scratch, or I can use all of the templates that we have for volunteer science, which we're building every day. Here's some experiments that I've created. Let's just assume that I already have just created one. So this is an experiment management page. Every experiment that you create has one. This demo tab is where you can test the experiment to see that it works the way that you want, and you can simulate the number of players and use some versioning control to make sure you're playing the right version. Study info is like a README tab, which this is my test team. I don't keep a README on this particular one. The files are sort of the core of the experiment. So in this case, there's just an HTML file for this. This is a consumables demo. So I called it consume.html, and I called the JavaScript file consume.js. This is where all the magic happens. You can use our API to create advanced features like collecting social media data or sending chat messages between multiple users or sending data between multiple users for multiple person experiments. Or again, you can use our templates to create your own study using some of the studies that we've already created. And this is where you would put in those API calls and where you would see the study files. Then we have a variables section, which will allow you to do randomization, allow you to customize your experiment without having to recode every time you want to change a little bit of detail. Again, won't get too much into that, being that this is just a tour, but just so you know, the managed variables are there for customization and easy access. We have a native digital consent support process where you can upload a form, attach it to an experiment, and have people sign it. And make sure that they sign it before they start the study or after the start of the study, wherever you need it to happen. There's a nice built-in achievement system, so you can give people achievements or just store the fact that they've done a tutorial or finished the study once. Same thing with scores. Save how well somebody did in a particular study and let them try to beat their score, or force them to pass a certain score level in order to advance to a more advanced version of the experiment. Subject feedback. People are participating in the study. They can click the feedback button in our interface, and you'll see that feedback show up here. And if you click the subscribe box, you'll actually get it in your inbox. Definitely don't be afraid of this. Most of the feedback that we get here is positive. People love our studies. They're happy to participate. And if you have an error, if something goes wrong, you definitely want to hear about it. So I encourage you to use the subscription option. And lastly, export data. You have your experiment here. People are participating. You need to get the data out. On the export data tab, we have this, there's an active monitoring system so you can see how many people are participating in your study. And down here, you can actually get the data out. So you can select your format, whether you want to include Turkers or PIs with your researchers based on people's consents. There's some metadata that you can export to, the variables, achievements, and scores. A couple of different things here for exporting the data that you want. A user subscription says move to a separate location. I'll show you that in a second. So you have your experiment. Now you're going to put it online for participants to take it. So you can go to the experiment admin page. This is where you post it online. I'll just open up a separate tab, make it easy to follow. So this is where, because I'm an admin, I can see everybody's section. Um, if you have one team, we'll have one section. I'll go to my JSON test section. And this is where I've created all my experiments so far in my test account. If I right-click on this, I can actually go to the public-facing version of my page, which is not nice looking at all, but it shows you an example of what's here. This is where I would describe my lab, my research, put a nice image for my logo or the kinds of experiments that I do. This is just a place for me to communicate to volunteers that I'm a legitimate researcher. These are the kinds of things that I do, and for them to get interested in many different kinds of studies that I particularly post online. There's also a subscribe tab. And what this does is it allows volunteers, participants to sign up for your subject panel. So they can put in their phone or their email. And then that goes into your subject management system, which I'll show you in a second, where you'll be able to send them text messages or send them emails to recruit them for particular studies. So as I was saying, I want to post an experiment online. So I can go add this category. I can say new experiment. New test. There we go. It'll show up down here, new experiment. I add an experiment to it. I have no idea what this is. I have a lot of experiments because I'm a part of many different teams. But now I have new experiment. And if I refresh, here we go, this order. Order is where on the page it shows up. So order 1, it's going to show up at the top here. New experiment, new test. So now it looks really cool. Usually you have a bunch of text here on the left explaining what's going on, so it's a little bit nicer to look at. But the idea is that when people click play, they go into that experiment. Again, since I don't know what experiment that is, I'm not going to show you. I guess here's a demo. So I have a flanker task. I think there's a Qualtrics survey at the end of it. So I'm going to quit. This goes back to the home page here. So go back to my test page. So I could see, how long it's going to take. Again, I can participate, and then there's an about page. And if you want Volunteer Science us to put it online on our main page, you could just click this little sprocket, put a little note saying that you want us to add it, and we'll review it and make sure that it's that it works, that there's not any big bugs, and that it's not violating our terms of service. Please don't harass our volunteers. I'm sure you're fine. But just submit it, let us know, and we'll work with you to get it up on our main page. But that's how you put your own experiment up. You can actually, because I'm the PI for this page, I can click this green button and edit. So new test, edit, save. Don't forget to save. Get out of edit mode. But now volunteers anywhere in the world now sees that new edit, can take this experiment. So that's posting your experiment online, creating it in your team. The last thing I want to show you is the subject management system and recruiting Turkers. So if I go back to my test here somewhere, there it is, new experiment. I actually do make AMT hit. This team doesn't have a Mechanical Turk account. My test team doesn't have a test account. I'll go to the Turk team. I think Luke has a test. Luke doesn't have a test. All right, I'll go to the labs example. It's going to take a second because we have a lot of hits. And it could be that my internet's kind of spotty. Okay. So here's the Mechanical Turk section. If I put clone, where's my, there it is. Add a new hit. This is not the usual way of adding a new hit. Create a new hit. And what this does is it has a volunteer science version of the Mechanical Turk web form for creating a hit. So I can come in here, set the account that I'm paying from. Configuration would be automatically loaded by this as this tile. So you don't usually have to change that. Title, description, keywords, your reward, everything that you need to run Mechanical Turk workers is here. And then you create the hit. You can use the sandbox for Mechanical Turk and then make it live. Again, plenty of stuff that you can do with Mechanical Turk. The other thing that you can do is you can have volunteers or students or people in classes subscribe to your team, and that puts them in your subject management system. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to go over to my subject management system. Again, I have a bunch. Where's JSON test? Oh, I think it's all behind the dot there. Okay, so here's my subject management system. I can create SMS messages, push notifications, and send emails from here. I can also manage my subjects, so I can view the people, which I think this is JSON team. Yeah, so there's a couple of tests here. But I've got my contact information. You could use an anonymous link to send them personalized URLs to studies. I can add attributes, so I can put in sort of demographics like white, male, over 75, what have you, so that I know what characteristics people have, so I can invite the right people to the right studies. And so I have my subjects, my attributes, and then I can create an email where I write it up, send it to white people over 75, and it goes out. Same thing with push notifications. Oops, sorry. I don't have my push notifications active for the test account. Or send them SMS message. Again, don't have SMS messages on this account. All right. Well, thank you so much. That is the very quick tour of volunteer science. If you have access to SMS and push notifications, you'd see that stuff. And when you connect your Mechanical Turk system to your account, that will also show up. But that's the very quick overview of what's available through volunteer science. If you want to know more, check out our YouTube page. We also have documentation and an FAQ and an API to help you get a handle on what it is that volunteer science does well and how to do it yourself. And if you want a trial or you want to have questions for us, feel free to email us at support@volunteerscience.com. We're happy to answer questions, give more demos, and show you how the system works. All right, thank you.